European climate energy mixes. So this is a European Copernicus project, and I'm very glad to be presenting this to you, and especially we are looking forward to hearing your feedback on how we're doing and what you like to see particularly moving forward, because we are really at the start of the process, and that's the best position for you to provide your input and help us shape this climate service. So climate service will tell you a bit more what they are, but I just want to tell you about this specific project. So our motivation and target. So the question we've been asking ourselves, the overall arching question is, how will climate affect future energy mixes? So we're taking a kind of holistic view, a bit large view, but I'll explain the reason for that in a minute. The more structural motivation is that, as you all know, the energy sector is undergoing a major transformation, and so there's increasing share of power supply from variable renewable energy sources. Demand is variable, the variability is also increasing, and the transformation is taking place against a variable and changing climate. So there's always more surprises, like the last winter. We've seen that it was particularly warm and probably unexpected. So all this changing, despite of the El Nino, we knew that El Nino was happening, but still it was a pretty warm winter by all records. So we are experiencing these changes all the time. We don't have to wait for the future. The future may bring more surprises, but we already experience these changes. So what we want to do with this climate service, European Climate Energy Mixes, or ECEM, is to develop, in close collaboration with you, a demonstration that assesses how well different energy mixes in Europe will meet demand over different time horizons, from seasonal to climatic timescales, focusing on the role of climate as on the energy mixes. So the uniqueness of this approach is that from at least a climate perspective is this attempt to integrate the thinking of climate information into this kind of holistic energy approach, energy mixes. There are a number of activities around. This is not unique, but the scale, looking at all of Europe, and also trying to interface across the sector, not just individual companies. I think that's bringing a new aspect, and that's what we are here about. We're trying to develop something that could be useful by a wide range of users in the energy sector, not a specific company, but we need the help of specific companies to try to build something that can be useful. Now, after all, this is coming from the EU, and the EU wants to see something that is useful for the wider community. So we're going to ask questions like why climate is important for energy planning, and ultimately also, as climate scientists, we also want to see whether we can improve this kind of information. So how the process of using this climate information in decisions in the energy sector can actually feed back to the development of climate information. How can we improve that? So that's not a stationary thing. We need to, if we provide good feedback to the climate developers, then we can come up with a better product. And that's where I think the cycle should be fed in and continue to grow, because there's very little of that. There's a lot of information coming out of climate models, and it's normally taken for granted, but it's also good to understand that there is a way back. I mean, there's a feedback loop that is not used so much at the moment. And that's again what we are here for. So we started our thinking around the EHighway 2050, this major European project led by RTE here in France, but with the participation of a number of transmission companies and other research institutes, and NSTOE, for example, was involved as well. And selected a number of scenarios, looked at what would happen to the energy grid in 40, 40 years, and based on 5 scenarios. These are the scenarios. I'll just go very quickly. We have a presentation later. We'll explain better what this project is about, but this is just to show you our thinking when we set up the project. We started kind of from this level. We saw that there was a lot of work going on with this project. It's excellent work. A lot of output is on the web, and I've been reading a lot about that, and I encourage everybody to do that. I think it's really very important, inspirational. And this is the summary slide that they produced with what the kind of changes that the network would require under these different scenarios. So they looked at various aspects. I mean, as you can imagine, it's very complex, the issue of how the grid is going to look in 30 years' time. I mean, it could be very different from what it is now. And so there are very different issues to take into account. And they go from technical issues, like can we actually build there a new structure, to economical, financial, does it make sense in monetary terms, to political and social, political, environmental issues. And so, you know, whether there's social acceptance, for example, for a line going through here, or research and development and deployment, so there's new technologies coming out. Can we use that technologies that is in the pipeline in research in 10 years' time or not? So there's all these questions that have been considered to different degrees in EHighway, as far as I can see. But one thing that is prominently missing, I think, by reading the report and also discussing with people, is the use of climate information in this. So presumably this is because, you know, compared to other things, it's not at the top of the agenda, but I think it's increasingly recognized that this could become actually something that becomes more important, and that's why we thought that adding that extra dimension to that kind of planning could improve the use of the climate information for these particular critical problems of planning 30, 40 years ahead. Then the thinking also evolved and included other aspects like seasonal forecast, as we will discuss later. But that's basically to give you a bit of a story, and I probably need to speed up a bit now, and I go very quickly through some cases just to justify why we think that you know, the climate is becoming more important in this decisions of the planning. And so we have very recent publications here from number of experts in the climate community showing that you know, there are some expected changes, sometimes pretty large. In this case, it's wind projections, and in other cases, it's solar projections. I just discuss this briefly because it's interesting to see that on the left-hand side, you see a change in expected solar irradiance. Whether that's realistic or not, that's a different matter. But the point here is that there are expected large changes. However, because of the way PV operates, higher solar irradiance in some regions will actually be accompanied by higher temperatures, and the overall effect is on the right, where you get actually minimal change to the PV production. So you may think, okay, that's good, so we don't need to take that into consideration. But if you hadn't known this information, then you were in the dark. So it's, you know, you need this analysis to tell you that this is happening, or may be happening actually. So sorry, we need to be clear about this. This is projection, very high uncertainty, and all through the discussions here, we need to understand that these products come with a very high level of uncertainty, but nonetheless, as I said, you are without information, or you have this piece of information. Which one you prefer? So another paper that very recently came out is about how the changes in climate will affect hydropower and thermal power. 98% of production at the moment is from hydro or thermal, both combined. And in both cases, they observed there's going to be large changes in with the timescale of 2050 for both hydropower plants and thermoelectric power plants. Changes, as I said, also are important at seasonal timescales. Here, just a sample of related to solar irradiance, and just from Australia, which is a beautiful country on the other side of the hemisphere, where I happen to live for 6 years. So it's that's why you are looking at the map of Australia here. It's a study we did, and but the point here is that if you look at the changes between one phase of El Nino, so this large climatic event, and the other phase, you can get differences in summer in solar irradiance of about up to 15%. Again, this doesn't include the temperature effect, but you can see that there are important changes already happening. This is what we see now. This is changes between one season, which has El Nino, and another season, statistically. So it's important signals. Now, briefly on climate, our climate service. It's a 27-month project, started 2.5 months ago. So that's where I said, you know, we are close to the beginning, and a good place to provide your input. And we have 6 strong partners listed there, 5 work packages. I won't go into the details, but what I want to emphasize is that in the planning and the project, we put a lot of emphasis on the stakeholder engagement. And that is reflected in workshops like this and other 5 to come. So you shouldn't be worried that you don't have to come to all of them, but you're very welcome to come to all of them. And if you also know of other people who could be interested in this area and help us develop, because in the end it's something that you could use, then it'd be great to have engagement from you and your colleagues. So the background from a climate perspective, there's now more than ever rich weather and climate data sets available through different projects, European or global. Energy information is also coming out more abundantly than in the past. There's information from EHighway, as I mentioned. There's also quite a lot of effort from organizations like the World Energy Council, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, IEA. They all produce publications around the effect of climate on energy systems. Mainly around resilience, but it's the overall, recognition that climate is becoming a factor in the decision making and in the planning of energy. And also there are other processes like the Global Framework for Climate Services, which tries to coordinate the efforts that are done here at the European level, at the more global level, as well as the GEO, which is the Global Observing system, and so there's a lot of frameworks around that we refer to as a way to reinforce the message of the importance of climate information, and also trying to harmonize the activities around the globe. So we're not acting in isolation, that's the thing, and we are accessing a wide range of data, climate data and energy data to make this work. So in a nutshell, this is what we're trying to do in ECEM. So this is the target. We're trying to come up with an assessment of the energy mix for present day and for seasonal forecast timescales and climate change, taking into account the various supplies which would match the demand that itself is climate related, climate dependent. And so we need to work out first what the demand will be, and then work out what the supply. As you know, I'm just preaching to the converted, but that's what the process we are trying to follow. So we are taking into account the major sources of energy. We are kind of ignoring, as it was done in other projects, minor, at the moment at least, supplies like wave. And maybe your input would be important in the sense of you have a better view of how other technologies could be relevant in 30 years' time that are not there now. So we look at the 5 scenarios, the same as in EHighway. I won't spend time on this, but they are quite diverse and trying to span a good range of possibilities for the future. And this is kind of a flow chart diagram of our working. And so you see that we start from climate variables on the top left, which include all the variables we think that are relevant for the development of this climate service, and particularly how they affect energy, the supply and demand. And then we convert those variables into energy variables there at the bottom. And this will go into a demonstrator or a portal. You'll hear a lot about demonstrator today. And so that's basically converting all this information into something that is digestible by a wide range of users, and it's at the beginning. So it also should be understood that this particular phase of Copernicus climate change services is at the start, and it's at the start of an 8-year plan. So we are kind of developing the seeds of, so it's called proof of concept. It's the start of this demonstrator. That's why it's called demonstrator, I guess. But it should be understood that the idea is to actually take this beyond and make this into an operational product. And so we are here for a kind of long journey, hopefully. I mean, we are only, the funding agreed for the first 2 years and a bit, but the idea is that if everything works fine, then we'll move on and convert this demonstrator into an operational. And so that also gives you some idea of, looking forward. If you're interested to be engaged, that's where we don't have time. We'll skip that. Basically, the demonstrator is going to be an online interactive tool which allows visualization of energy supply profiles for each country in generation type, energy demand profiles for each country, and assessment of energy system adequacy at country level. So taking the first 2 bullets and then trying to see how the two match each other. And as you notice here, we're focusing on a country level. We are this demonstration phase where there's so much complexity in the system. We need to find shortcuts to get to the end of the 2 years and get something to demonstrate. And so one of the shortcuts is to say, okay, let's look at how climate affect, but then the results are going to be at country level. So just an average at country level. It may be too little information for you, but it's something that, as I said, it's a start. And again, this is something we can discuss here, but always bear in mind that we have this 2-year demonstration phase, and we can adjust things as we move on, but obviously there are constraints about the resources and so on. So we open and willing to hear your opinion about this approach and see how we can improve it. So we'll look at historical period and other things. So like climate change and seasonal forecast. And so at the moment, we don't know how the demonstrator is going to look like. So I just got this image some time ago, and I like it because we could come up with a monster, but actually has energy in it, so it's relevant. So I'm just throwing there just to say we're open to discussion. Hopefully we won't come up with a monster like that, something better. But actually, on that note, I'd like to give you an example of a demonstrator or prototype is called in that case, from a European project that is just produced this prototype. The project is produced nice cartoons, pretty much like what we're doing here now. I think we copied the idea from that project. So you'll see Alexia over there working hard and trying to understand what I'm saying. And I'm talking too fast, I think. So are you capturing, are you able to understand what I'm saying? Or? Yeah, good. I should have checked before, but it's too late. Anyway, the important thing is that we'll have very nice cartoons at the end, like this project did. And they also did something else. They did this prototype, which Carlo over there will explain in more detail soon. But this is like, you know, what can we do with this climate data? In this case was wind data, and how can we portray this information in the best possible way, make it attractive, useful, and so on. Just a brief word about the global framework. As I said, we are linking with our activities also with the global framework for climate services. This climate service is developing as we speak. We have the key people at the workshop today. There's Max and Roberta, if you want to talk to them. There's also a meeting tomorrow for specifically for the global framework. And we're now looking at establishing partnership with major energy players so that this global framework can be developed in conjunction with this energy players. And there's also pilot activities being produced and knowledge sharing and several other activities. And also there is another body that is actually just set up to also help with this development, which is called the World Energy and Meteorology Council, which is primary goal is to enable improved sustainability, resilience, and efficiency of energy systems under an ever-changing weather and climate. So it's pretty much aligned with what ECEM is doing, or the other way around actually. But WEMC is also just another piece of information. It's been incorporated like 3 months ago, and the headquarters is at the University of East Anglia, where a few of us are based. To summarize, there's basically, I just go back to my initial slide, what is unique about this project, and it's really trying to integrate climate information into the energy system at a pretty high level in terms of, you know, just look at the system as a whole, supply as a whole, and demand, and see whether climate information can provide some useful information about the adequacy of the system on the climate change timescales, but also on the seasonal timescales. We want to see how, from season to season, the supply and demand are matching at the country level, as I said. So I'll stop there. I think I'm pretty much on the dot, and we'll have a lot of time for discussions. I know that I can't read that far.
Oh. It's about photos, videos, and Twitter.
Good, thank you. I forgot my glasses, but actually they are on the. Anyway, Laurent kindly reminded me that I should mention that we are recording. Oh, you said it already, yeah?
No.
We're recording the sessions. If anybody objects, please say it now. Sorry we didn't warn you before, but better now than later. Also, the photo, we're taking photos. Again, if you're against it, please let us know, and we're aiming to put some photos on the web at some stage. We're developing a website as we speak. And the last one was Twitter. So we have a hashtag.
It's at Copernicus ECEM, is it? No.
Hashtag user underscore ECEM.
User underscore ECEM.
We'll write it there
Yeah, yeah.
or soon, I guess. Otherwise. Or we can circulate it.
Yeah,
paper.
we'll circulate it.
Technology is not here. Good.